So after tonight, and I super chatted Alex about this, just Alex, when he did his double review of both Rampage and SmackDown. But after tonight's Grand Slam edition of Rampage, where Jade Cargill retained her TBS title over Diamante. I kind of thought about this, and like I said, I mentioned it to Alex in a super chat. But the way they've been pushing Jade Cargill since she's arrived, you know, it's almost like there's an end goal in mind for her. Like she is one of the only legit stories that they've been following through on without an issue. And to me, even though I came out several months ago and I said that, she needs to drop the belt at All Out, or she's going to have to drop it All Out, or between, that time and Grand Slam, to set her up for a match for the AEW Women's Championship at Full Gear, that didn't happen. That didn't happen at all, and it got me thinking after tonight now, what is the end goal for AEW when it comes to Jade? And I think, as I just adjust the mic there a little bit, not the mic but the camera there a little bit, but after tonight, I was wondering, okay, they've put her up against some of the best, wrestlers, women wrestlers they can think of to try to stop her. They put her up against Athena. Athena's moved on to the Women's Championship now. They've put her in the ring with Ruby Soho. They put her in the ring with Toni Storm, I think, at one point. They put her in the ring with her. They put her in the ring with very notable women. Ruby Soho, Athena. Who else did they have a face? They put her in the ring with, I think, I'm trying to think who else. Ty Conte, or Ty, if you will. They've had her in the ring with her. They've had her in the ring with Anna Jay. They've had her in the ring with Allie, Bunny, if you will. They've had her in the ring with a lot of these notable names, some good, some that still need work. And just recently with Diamante, if you will. And they've even had her in the ring with Red Velvet. Red Velvet has improved. They've had her in the ring with Kiera Hogan. Kiera Hogan is a good in-ring competitor. But she's beaten every single person she's been put in front of. Every single person. They even put her in the ring with Layla Hirsch, who's now on their side. So, the question is obviously who is next for her to face. And mostly for AEW, what is next for Jade? What is the end goal? And I mentioned to Alex that the way after tonight, it looks like what they're doing is they're setting Jade up for a potential champion versus champion match at Full Gear. And whether that's against Toni Storm, who probably would still be interim champion at that time, or maybe undisputed women's champion, we don't know. Or if it's Thunder Rosa, who's undisputed women's champion. Again, we're not sure. It looks like basically they are setting, her up for that collision with whoever the women's champion is in interim or undisputed at Full Gear, to where it looks like the final destination is to make her the first ever dual women's champion in AEW. And I know you're thinking, well, we've had dual champions before. Heck, we currently have a dual champion in Pac, right? Yeah, we've had dual champions in AEW. We have multi-tier champions right now, multi-tier champions currently right now in FTR. So yeah, we've had that, currently and previously, but not for the women, because the women only have 2 singles belts. And for someone like Jade to potentially be put in a position by Tony Khan to do what no other woman has done yet in that company, and that's be a double champion, that is going to be, not only would that be a huge historical accomplishment for any woman on that roster, but it signifies and pretty much puts a stamp on it, once and for all, that AEW has not only strapped the rocket to Jade Cargill since day one, but they're going to continue to do so even in the years to come if they're willing to go this far with her by making her a possible dual champion. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen. Okay, I'm not going to say that's going to happen, because they got a lot of special events coming up again in the near future. They got this Fight Forever, I think, event coming up, where it's going to be headlined by Hangman Page and Jon Moxley for the AEW World Title. They probably have another event after that as well. They got little side quests, if you will, in between now and Full Gear. But if they're setting Jade up to go in that direction, to where not only is she undefeated, but she makes history on multiple fronts. One, she becomes the first, like I say, first woman's dual champion by being both the TBS and Women's World Champion. Two, she becomes the first AEW talent, but out of all the roster, both men and women, to be undefeated while holding, two championships, especially a world championship. She's the first one to do that out of all the roster, both men and women. And three, again, like I said, it signifies that she's one of those homegrown talents that Tony Khan and AEW wanted to put the strap, decided to put the strap to and blast her off into the AEW galaxy, if they will, to conquer every little planet and star system, that, she comes across. And if the end game, the end goal is for her to be the Women's World Champion simultaneously, while she's the TBS champion, then I can't argue against that. I think honestly that would be a phenomenal climax and conclusion to, this story arc, this character-driven story arc, if you will, for Jade Cargill. Because not only are you showing the world that, hey, we do support our homegrown talent, and look, we could have had any of these women she's gone up against beat her, but we've had her beat them, because we want her to be a focal point of the women's division. We want her to be the face of the division. If that's the end goal, then, I can't argue against it, because at least it shows that AEW isn't just relying on ex-WWE talent or ex-talent from any other companies to be focal points and featured champions, in the company. They're focusing on on their own homegrown talent. And that's the phone ringing. I do apologize. But like I said, they're focusing on their own homegrown talent. And by putting Jade into this situation that it looks like they're putting her in, that's just all the proof they need that, again, they're not just relying on those they sign away from other companies once they become free agents or let go. So again, I can't argue with the idea of them going in this possible direction, because, like I said, they've had multiple occasions for her to drop that belt. Athena, the former Ember Moon, was brought in. Everybody thought she was going to be the one to do it. She didn't. She failed. She failed. She fell. Ruby Soho, on multiple occasions, the former Ruby Riott, put into the finals, she fell. Got a rematch against her, fell again. And so on and so forth. And out of all these people, like I mentioned earlier, that they've brought in, they've had Jade go over. They've been told, you're putting Jade over, she's not putting you over, because we have a plan. excuse me, because obviously they have a plan for her, and that plan is to make her, the woman in the women's division. And it looks like they want to do that by having her be a dual champion. Now, what this does for the TBS title is, storyline-wise, her holding the Women's World Championship means she would eventually have to vacate the TBS title, and they could and by vacating it, they could put it up for grabs in a tournament, a battle royal, whatever scenario they decide to come up with, and thus give it to somebody else. And by doing so, by having her give up that TBS title in favor of the women's world title, and putting it up for grabs, like I said, in a tournament or whatever match scenario or whatever creative scenario they come up with, shows how prestigious that championship is. Because now, from a creative standpoint, you could have a lot of women, even those that tried to get the belt away from Jade in the first place, vying to be the next TBS champion, be the second ever TBS champion. So, so I could see this being a positive when it comes to that TBS championship, if this is the direction they're going to go with Jade Cargill in the next several months. Now, like I said, they got a couple of side quests, special events and all that in between there, where a lot could change, where they could decide, okay, we're going to have her drop the belt to have whoever they choose her to drop it to. But right now, it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. It looks like, again, the end goal is for her to be the first ever women's dual champion, the first ever undefeated world champion, on the entire roster between both men and women. And they want to prove that they do depend and rely on the homegrown talent more so than people think they do when it comes to the talent they sign from elsewhere. So, yeah, in my opinion, it looks like we're heading towards a full gear showdown with Jade Cargill and whoever the women's world champion is that time, either it's the interim champion or undisputed champion Toni Storm, or the undisputed champion and current legit champion, if you will, in Thunder Rosa. I think what we're heading for is a champion versus champion, title for title showdown at Full Gear, where Jade Cargill will come out on top as the first ever women's dual champion and the first ever undefeated women's, not women's, but the first ever undefeated world champion of anybody in AEW, currently in AEW, in history, or in AEW history. I think that's where we're heading. I think that's the direction we're heading, unless plans change, and they can. Because again, we got this Fight Forever event coming up in a few weeks. We got the next Battle of the Belts coming up in a few weeks, very soon, before Full Gear, that's obvious. As well as I think we got one more event. And again, things could change in between then and there, but in the end, I think the end goal is for her to be a dual champion and to be the first ever undefeated world champion in AEW history, between both men and women. As well as to prove, as I said before, that this is a prime example of AEW just telling everybody, hey, we do support our homegrown talent, we do push our own homegrown talent, and here's probably one of the best examples right here in Jade Cargill. So yeah, that's just my opinion, though. That's just my opinion on what I think they're doing when it comes to Jade's run right now, because, like I said, they've had all these women come in, all these very talented women that have made names for themselves elsewhere and in other major promotions, and they've all fell to Jade. They've all fallen to her. Instead of her putting them over, they put her over. So, obviously there's a plan, and that long-term plan I think is going to conclude at Full Gear with her being a dual champion, the TBS and world champion, when it's all said and done. But what do you guys think? Do you think this is the plan that AEW has in mind, or do you think this could change? Let me know down below in the comment section, as well as let me know if you would be cool with Jade being the first wrestler talent in AEW between both men and women to make history by being undefeated, in becoming world champion, as well as being the first undefeated dual champion. Let me know what your thoughts are there. Comment below, live chat during the premiere, like the video, super thanks are open after the premiere. Super chats and super stickers are open during the live chat. You can also find me at Venmo at Brian-Homer-2, Cash App at BWRoses98, Patreon.com/BWRoses at the $1, $3 tier. Also, you can check me out at my BW Roses discussions, all your favorite audio podcast locations except for Pandora. Also, check me out at my Teespring store for merchandise you can't get anywhere else. But let me know what your thoughts are, guys. How do you feel about this? Do you think this is the best idea, best direction AEW could take Jade? Because it looks like they're heading that way with her. What are your thoughts? Let me know down below and in the live chat. And until then, I am out.